Well, it's an honor to be here with all of you. And how Adam mentioned, we're from Elizabeth, New Jersey. Has anyone ever heard of Elizabeth, New Jersey? All right, we have a couple. Just in case, there's this exit, 13A. So 13A is where we started driving from on Wednesday, 11:30 p.m. We were in a van filled with some of the youth workers, and you better believe it was filled with a bonding experience of fumes. And it wasn't just the gasoline. Whenever we had to fill the tank, there were other fumes involved. But we left 13A, and some of you might say, I've never seen 13A before. How many of you have seen The Sopranos before? If you've seen any of the episodes of Sopranos, exit 13A is highlighted in the beginning of the show. But this talk is not about that. The talk that we're doing today is giving your ministry away. I just want to give you a little background information just to start everything off with myself. In 1995, I made the decision to be a youth worker. One of the craziest decisions I ever made in my entire life. I was a youth worker from 1995 to pretty much 2000, but during those years, the major thing that happened was that my role could be summed up as a babysitter. I was really a babysitter. I would show up to the youth ministry, and my job was just to keep things silent around the person that was in charge. And as long as everyone else was silent, I was doing my job. But I just knew that during that time period, there was certain changes happening within the church. And when those changes were occurring, when I least expected it, someone came, tapped me on my shoulder, which was my senior pastor, called me into his office. Now, you know I felt like I was in trouble, no matter what. So I went into his office, and he asked me the question that many of us have probably heard in one way or another. He simply said, would you be willing to lead the youth ministry? I took a deep breath. I sighed, and after soiling myself, I said, okay, I'm willing to do it. I went back. It was 4 leaders, 7 youth that were forced to be there. And the leaders sat together. And when we sat together, we decided we have to give a name to this group, and we called it the Bridge, uniting the hearts of youth with the heart of God. And as we met as a group, and we met weekly, we did do a couple of changes to the format of the way we were doing things. And after about a year, we saw growth numerically and also spiritually. We were having about 75 kids show up. In the beginning of the year, we had about 7. And we could have easily stayed content where we were at. Because our senior pastor was happy. He was like, man, we had 7 a year ago. Now we have 75. And he saw the growth, the kids getting plugged in every way possible. But we just knew that there was something that was a little off, and we couldn't pinpoint it. And this talk about giving your ministry away, I just want to highlight it with telling you about 2 interruptions that happened in my life. 2 interruptions. And the first interruption was just during that time period. That time period where I was content, and for the most part, it seemed like everything was okay, but yet, deep down inside, we knew that something else had to happen. And during that time period, I ended up having a dream. And it was such a vivid dream that I knew it was from God. And in that dream, it was from a macro level view where I just saw different things falling into a chasm. But then I was able to zoom in a way. And as I got closer in my dream, I saw that there were thousands of kids going and falling over into the chasm. And I didn't recognize the faces on these kids. But when I glanced over, I saw a bridge. There was a thin bridge. And I noticed my specific leaders attempting to pull the kids through the bridge. But for every one kid that one of my leaders was able to bring through the bridge, there were thousands that would fall over. And it was very obvious that the bridge was too narrow. And I just know that dream rocked the way I thought things. That dream changed everything. Because before that day, I saw myself as a youth pastor of a church. But after experiencing that dream, I noticed that God revealed to me that, no, Carlos, you're a youth pastor of the city, one of the youth pastors of the city. It's no longer just looking at your youth group within the four walls, looking at the kids that you have, but seeing everything around you. All the kids that walk through the city streets are part of pretty much your area of influence that you need to tackle. So one of the things we started to do is we had to be strategic. We sat down and started to evaluate our program. And we noticed that 85% of the kids that we have would walk to our location. We noticed that some of our leaders would be babysitters themselves just because there wasn't enough to do in a sense. Like, they weren't being used to their fullest potential. So after seeing these things, we sat down, grabbed the map, we made a list of our resources, we made a list of our contacts, we made a list of our everything that we have, money or the staff, the people, and we said, what could we do differently? The thought came to our mind is, what if we duplicate exactly what we're doing and do it in a different area of our city? What if we sit down and instead of expecting all the kids to come to us, let's try to evaluate where the kids are at and go to them? And maybe it doesn't mean that you have to start a whole youth program the way we did it. It could be meeting at a pizza parlor or at the park, whatever it may be, but going to the actual location. So we sat down, we looked at the map, and we started with our first one, which was in Midtown. That's the first location where our youth ministry was at. And we noticed that there was so much more space to cover. There's some areas that are gray, which is the industrial section of Elizabeth, that, of course, we don't have to go there. But then afterwards, we decided, let's go to Elmora. So we duplicated the ministry. We assigned the youth minister, we prepared a team with them, and we sent them off, and he literally started the same exact night. We would meet on Friday nights. They would meet in a different area of the city. And to our surprise, it went really well. It went better than what we expected. And after it went really well, we sat back and we were like, what if we do it again? And we did. We did it a third time. We sent a youth minister with staff around them, and pretty much they started the program there on Friday night, the same night we did it. That was the third time. Then we did it a fourth time. Then we did it a fifth time. Then we did it a sixth time. And we, not too long ago, did it our seventh time. So every single Friday night, we meet in 7 different locations throughout our city. And there's still areas that we need to cover. And here, with this, we've seen God bless it. And throughout the years, we've been able to impact thousands of kids that have come through our program in one way or another. Now, with the format and the model that we have, just picture, you could either have a spider model where there's a central body and everything is controlled by that one person. Every decision and everything goes through that. And then the legs, you could picture it just being the workers that the central head and body has. Or you could have a starfish model, where every arm is pretty much a replicate of the major organs that the other arms have. Even if a starfish is cut in half, it'll just become two. And what we ended up doing was changing our model. Before, everything had to go through me. And let me tell you, even with the first speaker that came and he was talking about pride, there had to be a death within myself. Because we, in one way or another, we might like the fact that things have to go through us. So here, that had to die within me, and we continued, and with the spider model, you figure if you cut the head of the spider, it dies. But with the starfish, there's no physical head. Even though I am the head, when I go visit these locations, some of the kids and parents don't even know who I am, because they see the other minister as the main one. The second interruption that I had was another dream. I had a dream that I was standing in a room and there was a cabinet filled with weapons. But weapons were symbolic to the purpose of the youth and the mission that they had. And I was there, and the kids and the leaders were lined up, and all I was meant to do was to get the weapons, prepare them, and hand them over. So my mission was really to be an equipper. I was there to equip those around me. And that could even be a challenge to us. It's like, are we doing everything we can to equip the people that we have? Now, the first thing we started doing was figuring out how we could touch the soul of our city. How could we figure out the needs, the hurts, everything, the single parents, everything that they might be encountering all within our city, and how could we touch the specific needs for them? And I saw my role more as creating opportunities. What we ended up doing is starting a helping hand program where we literally told the community that if there's any specific needs or things that they feel as though our ministry could help them with, to let us know. Whether it's shoveling snow, raking leaves, or whatever it may be, we would be out there. And we would send out teams to do that. We would have a missions trip. We've done international in the past. We've done domestic trips. But when I've done domestic trips in the past, too, I used to think, how come we're doing these things in other cities that I'm not doing in my own? So I would get these kids, we'll break them up into teams, and we'll send them into the neighborhoods. They knew we were there, but we were touching their hearts before we would ever ask them about anything else. We also are in the process of creating a website. This website would be for all the churches to be able to use that would link up the needs of the community and ways that they could serve. So we want to be able to make that connection. Something else that we ended up doing, too, is creating the Equip Conference. Because it's not about our ministry. It's about the city of Elizabeth, transforming that city. The Equip Conference was an idea, is what if we get our churches together, all the different youth pastors, have 21 seminars, 2 general sessions, have all the different youth pastors from our city teach to sharpen one another, and invite all of our leadership teams from our city so that we could grow together as a city. And we would do that completely free. We wouldn't charge anyone. We wouldn't do anything like that. It's just a way that the city could grow and we could strengthen every single youth ministry that's there. So you might be saying, why should I give my ministry away? Jesus did. He gave his ministry away. He trusted us. And the way I see it, too, is through time, through my journey, the more I gave my ministry away, the more opportunity came my way. It wasn't, so many times we feel like we have to hold on to these things. But God's asking us to let go. Sometimes we become the bottlenecks in our ministry and not allowing the next leadership to grow. And a big thing within the culture of our group is that we think generationally. Who's behind you? Who's following you? Who are the next youth who are the student volunteers? Who's going to carry the ball down the line? When I started this 15-minute talk, I pretty much highlighted Exit 13A, and of course, that's my city. That's where I was born. That's where I've lived all my life. And my wife knows that's where I'm going to live for the rest of my life, too. That's part of the contract when we got married. So all my life, I'm going to be in this city. I love my city. I don't know what your city is. Your city is your area of influence. And God wants you to turn your area of influence upside down. I had two major interruptions in my life, which were those two dreams that really rocked me and wrecked me. And we need to be open to hear the interruptions that God is trying to get our attention, even today, through our journey. God bless you.